Well, good afternoon and welcome to an exciting webinar which will explain in detail the new Agora ESG Managed Solution offering, as well as providing detailed insights into RGP's portfolio construction processes. On today's call, I'm joined by two investment professionals, Jean-Philippe Mathieu, who is RGP's National Vice President of Business Development. JP graduated from McGill University with a Bachelor in Finance. He was also named on the Dean's Honours List. In addition to his finance degree, JP holds the CFA and RAS, which is the Responsible Investment Specialist designations. He's been with RGP Investments for 7 years. We're also joined today by Alexandra Tangre, who is Portfolio Manager at RGP. She holds a bachelor's degree in Business Administration with a specialization in finance from Laval University. She furthered her knowledge by obtaining an MBA in finance, where she distinguished herself through research on responsible investment-focused environmental, social, and governance criteria. In 2021, she further enhanced her expertise by becoming a CFA charter holder, marking the beginning of a new phase in her career. Her passion for responsible investment also led her to obtain the ESG investing certification from the CFA Institute, and also the Responsible Investment Advisor certification from the Responsible Investment Association, therefore strengthening her ability to integrate these principles into her portfolio management, making her an innovative and disciplined manager. Alexandra has been at RGP Investments since 2018 and committed to her field. She has been on the Audit and Risk Management Committee of CFA Quebec since 2022. Additionally, she has led the Quebec City Committee of the Association of Women in Finance of Quebec for the past 4 years. I'm now going to turn it over to Jean-Philippe, where he will outline who RGP are and how RGP work with independent advisors and firms that support them. Thanks, JP.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mark. So I'm very pleased to be with you today, guys. I will be, like Mark said, with my colleague, Alexandra. Let's just dive right into it. We have approximately 30 to 40 minutes of content here. And as was mentioned, new Agora ESG portfolios. That's the main thing here that we're going to be presenting today. So let's just move right away to the session overview. So what do we got here? First, I'll start with an overview about who we are. We'll then move on to Alexandra about how to build an effective ESG partnership with us and with Agora. And finally, we'll introduce the new Agora ESG model portfolios. Plain and simple. Let's get to it. So who are we? I'm going to show you guys a slide here about the two main things you need to understand whenever you try to get the broader picture about who we are. So to the left, RGP Investments. We are a traditional fund company, right? We were created in 2014, based out of Quebec City, right here. We were created to work only with and for independent advisors. So we work solely with independents, no work with the financial institutions. We have a specialization in ESG and impact investing. Alexandra being with us here today. In terms of AUM, we're close to 1 billion today, and we have 8 product categories in general. So nothing too crazy here to understand traditional fund companies. Whenever we launched our fund company in 2014, we knew that no advisor needed a new fund with no history, with no track record at all to put in their portfolios. But we knew the reality of the independent advisor on the field, what he needed and what he was fighting against. That's where simultaneously we launched the stand-up program. So you see a few pointers here, optimization solutions for today's independent advisor. We help you do your business development and structure your business in terms of portfolios, specifically with Agora here, ESG portfolios. We have over 700 partners across Canada. You've been hearing my accent a little bit so far already. My colleague covering outside of Quebec, Joshua, currently has a newborn in his arms. So I'm the one here with you today, but we do have coverage all across Canada. Okay, so the big picture is fund company And stand-up program, that's how we position ourselves on the field to actually help you and help you on the field to win case. So what does that mean? Stand up here. First, standing up against the competition, right? Plain and simple. And then standardization. You see the first part here of the word, standardization and optimization. We want to help you being standardized like a true business, but do that optimally. Our mission is and has always been this one: help you grow your business and help you in this fight against the big financial institutions. So what do we do? There's 2 points here on the screen. So let's start with model portfolio creation. We have been building portfolios for our advisors since 2014. So it's been a while. It's been, well, more than 10 years now. How do we do that? Well, in our team, our head of research is an actuary who was formerly in the institutional world. He was basically advising pension plans on how to invest their assets. So Daniel Tremblay, our head of research, came within the company within RGP, and he brought this expertise within the firm. Started doing this with a few advisors here and there, and here we are today, partnering with Agora specifically for the ESG portion of the portfolios. So that's step one. Step two, building the models is one thing, but having these models work for you on the field is another thing that's as important as having good portfolios. So we have presentation tools and portfolio analysis tools. Obviously, I will be showcasing these to you in a bit today. So in terms of portfolio optimization, okay, what's our philosophy? First, we base ourselves on your independence, right? No limits, trying to get the best players out there to work for you. Two, we make sure that each player plays his role and act in a complement with the others. It's not only to have the best fund in every single category, it's to have the best team in the end that makes it work. And finally, like I said earlier, the expertise of the institutional sector, that's what you're getting from these portfolios. And what are the benefits we're after? Better long-term returns, more consistent returns, and better performance in downturns, right? That's the foundation of how we work. In terms of our optimization process, we're not going to go into much details here today for this. I could do that if anybody was interested, but what I want you to get from this image here is the structure and how professional the process is. So we have three primary parameters. Information ratio, that's one of the key ones. We have not created this one, it's out there, you can look it up. It's risk-adjusted performance returns compared to your peers, to your benchmark. That's one. A second one is S+ index. This is one we created internally. It allows us to make sure the portfolio is well diversified across all the sectors. And finally, the one that's the most important for us today, impact index. How can we make sure the portfolio is good, but how can we make sure it's as good in terms of impact and ESG analysis? That's where impact index come into play. Alexandra will break it down for us a little bit later on. And at the bottom here, you have traditional parameters when you think about portfolio creation, capture ratios, how does the portfolio behave when it goes up or down, etc. Okay, so that's the main point here. I told you about our head-to-head analysis. I will be showcasing one of these later on today. You have a sneak peek here. What do we think? Why do we think it's good? Well, it is analytical, but not too much. Not 40 pages, 4 pages. That's plenty of pages to explain to your clients why you have a good offering for him, right? And we have a specific ESG head-to-head here that shows different metrics. And for those of you who are familiar with the RIA, We were awarded with 2 leadership awards in 2022 for our work in ESG, one of them being specifically tied with this head-to-head that we'll show earlier. Okay, so before I hand it on to Alexandra, our responsible investment goal is to help you integrate RI into your offer. And we strongly believe that 100% of your clients should hear you speak about that, right? At least have the question, is that important for you? This is possible now. We can do a great job creating a portfolio that's aligning with your values. Would you like to give it a shot and take a look at what that would look like? Well, we think you should have that discussion with every single one of your clients if it's not done yet, because the competition will have it at some point. Okay, so that was the introduction. I was basically setting the stage on our process, who we are. We're now going to move on to Alexandra, who will go in more details about responsible investing in the industry, one, and our journey within responsible investing. Alexandra, I will hand you the mic now.
Thank you, Jean-Philippe. Do you see my screen? Not yet? Maybe there is a lag.
Well, maybe it's the same slide. Try it on and try moving on, Alex. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Cool. So thank you, Jean-Philippe and Mark, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you for the first time today. As JP said, my mandate today is to clarify key concepts in responsible investment and the ESG philosophy at RGP. I hope this will help you to better understand the ESG portfolios we have developed for Agora. Before diving in, I'd like to address some fundamental elements of responsible investment that often lead to a lot of confusion. The first aspect I want to discuss today is the methodology. Responsible investment has evolved rapidly, as you probably know, outpacing the industry's ability to regulate itself effectively. One consequence of this evolution is the absence of standardization. What I want you to remember today is that responsible investment is essentially an umbrella term that includes 2 types of investment: ESG investment and impact investment. Understanding this distinction is crucial, as these 2 types of investment are not similar and have very different objectives. The difference between the 2, in fact, lies mainly in their scope of application. Let's start with the first category, ESG investment. Here we focus on minimizing ESG risk. This is the equivalent of fundamental analysis. The goal here is to determine how well a company anticipates and prepares itself for these issues to minimize financial losses. For instance, we might choose a real estate company that diversifies its assets to avoid concentration in areas prone to natural disaster, compared with another real estate company. In contrast, with impact investing, the goal is to make a difference. This is why the focus shifts. Our primary focus is to assess if the company's products, for example, offer effective solutions and have positive impact for the planet. That's why the arrow points in the opposite direction, from the company to the planet. Keep in mind that these applications are not mutually exclusive. We can have a fund that applies both. However, the challenge is that until recently, most responsible investment products in Canada were mainly focused on ESG risk management. And in practice, both approaches are equivalent, but we have found that for clients, when they talk about responsible investment, they talk more about impact. That's why understanding this distinction is crucial to improve the recommendation to clients. In addition of these two fields of application, there is 5 main types of responsible investment selection strategies. The first two approaches are ESG exclusion and ESG best in class. Those evolve including or excluding companies that we don't want in the portfolio based on specific criteria and are the most popular. Then there is thematic investing, which is commonly found in traditional investment, and impact investing, which aims to maximize the impact. It's simple. And finally, we have engagement and stewardship. These strategy refers to shareholders being actively influencing a company decisions to improve governance, performance, and sustainability. These strategies can also be used in combination. Taking all this into account, you can see that the world of responsible investment can be very vast in terms of products. To illustrate our findings, we have mapped all responsible investment funds in Canada on a matrix that compares impact versus ESG risk. On the vertical axis, we represent impact. The greater the fund's impact, while lower positions are less impact-oriented. On the horizontal axis, we assess ESG risk. So to the left, near the green zone, we identify funds that manage their ESG risk effectively, indicating lower exposure to risk. On the other hand, on the right, we find strategies that neglect ESG risk management, which can lead to financial consequences. This shows the importance of being in the top left quadrant, the green quadrant, where we see comprehensive portfolios strategy. These funds, for example, will focus on companies that make a positive difference for the planet while effectively managing their ESG risk, ensuring impact and performance and client satisfaction. Now, regarding our last observation of this slide, you will notice a variety of small dots scattered throughout the matrix. These shows that funds are not perfect substitutes and that the universe of Canadian RI funds is vast. While this diversity is interesting, it can also make navigation for you difficult. Let's turn now quickly on the question of financial performance, which remains a crucial factor. What's particularly interesting today is that we now have enough historical data to demonstrate that responsible investment funds perform as well as traditional ones. Among the many studies available today, I like to highlight a widely recognized meta-analysis that includes almost 1,000 studies from Rockefeller, an asset management firm. This study found that between 2015 and 2020, nearly 60% of investment products that incorporated ESG achieved neutral or superior returns. We need to be still cautious with these results because, as I said, there is a wide range of products, but the aim of the slide is to demonstrate that at the very least, we are not leaving long-term performance on the table by opting for RI products. This brings us to the next topic I would like to discuss with you today, which is the RGP journey on ESG leadership. RGP Responsible Investment Journey began in 2020. Even back then, our main objectives like GP said earlier, we're to distance ourselves from greenwashing, but also provide advisors with quality tools. Everything we have done between 2020 and today has been influenced by these elements. We became a signatory to the Principle of Responsible Investment in 2020 and launched after that our RI portfolios. But most importantly, we created valuable tools for advisors and clients, such as our newsletter, Footprints, or ESG Head-to-Head, which won 2 awards from our RIA Association, and we released our first impact report. Let's first start by the Footprint newsletter. This newsletter is available on our Greenwise portfolio website and accessible to everyone. This is completely free. You can also sign up by clicking on the appropriate button on our homepage. It's a great way for investors to better understand the impact an RI funds can have. Above all, this newsletter makes things very concrete for the clients because the difference between a traditional strategy and our ESG one is sometimes and often nebulous for our clients. Next, we launched our ESG head-to-head tool, providing you and your investors with greater visibility into the financial and ESG performance of your client's portfolio. This tool essentially allows us to X-ray the portfolios and make them comparable. I won't say much more as GP will present you this head-to-head in more details with the ESG portfolio we have created for Agora. Finally, as I mentioned in the introduction, transparency and consistency are very important for us. That's why we strive for a 360 degrees approach to ESG, valuing every action. This is also why we have chosen to go to extra mile by offering a tree planted program. We partner with One Tree Planted, a reputable organization that ensures transparency about the tree planted and certifies their growth. Each year, we select regions in the world where the need is the greatest, such as areas affected by wildfires or erosion. And by September 30th, we had planted 26,052 trees. Before giving back the lead to Jean-Philippe, I will leave you with this last topic, a quick overview of the Greenwise portfolios, which are our in-house solutions at RGP. It was important for us to present you with a few slides on our in-house offering to give you a better understanding of how we built our expertise at RGP and the philosophy that is transposed into the ESG portfolios we have created for Agora. Our investment approach is built on a rigorous selection process that emphasizes integrity and transparency. We employ a diverse range of ESG strategies like those we see in introduction, enabling us to adapt to evolving opportunities and industry demands. Our goal is to generate a positive impact while delivering financial performances, all in a diversified, sustainable solution that will stand the test of time. To achieve these objectives, we realized at that time that there was a lack of impact metrics and data. That's why we decided to create our own impact index. After months of research and consultation, we create the impact index. The aim of this index is to quantify the impact of funds. On a scale of -100 to 100, the index positions RI and traditional funds too, with 0 representing the industry median. For example, when a fund has an impact index less than 0, this means that the companies in the fund are doing more harm than good for the planet. As with the Agora ESG portfolios, our Greenwise portfolios aim to maximize this index, and we achieve this with a score of 99 percentile, putting us at the top of the sector. Our expertise in ESG is also reflected in the results of external assessments. For example, Morningstar has awarded us the prestigious rating of 5 ESG globes, the highest possible ESG rating for a fund. What's interesting is that Morningstar tool is free and is easily accessible online if you want to screen any funds or any products. And finally, regarding negative industries, we have chosen to minimize as much as possible the following 5 sectors, which are intensive agriculture, weapons and military contracts, coal, vice, and oil and gas. These are the most commonly recognized negative sectors and are generally very important for our clients. We have also worked to minimize those industries in the Agora portfolios for the same reason. To conclude, the philosophy at RGP and our Greenwise portfolios aligns with that of the Agora ESG portfolios we have created. We are committed to provide a comprehensive, cohesive, and high-performing solution. This vision has guided the creation of the portfolio offering we present to you today. And I will now hand it over to Jean-Philippe to provide you with more details about this famous ESG portfolios. Jean-Philippe, I give you back the lead.
Yes, thank you very much, Alexandra. Let me just get back to controlling here. Okay, so here we are. The new models. What do they look like? What's in there? I'm gonna get to it. So I hope you guys were able to understand why we took that little detour to get here. It was important for us that you know how our expertise in building good portfolios, where it comes from, how long we've been doing this, and how we do it, and how serious and professional we are when we think about responsible investing. So what I'll be presenting now is the combination, how this expertise in portfolio optimization and this expertise in responsible investing that Alexandra showcased came together to produce these models. So remember, guys, that's the process. Impact index here is a key. So I will now go on and share PDF files I have here. And while I do that, we believe that the key is, yes, great portfolios, great presentation tools, and great analysis tools. So I'll be basically showing you all these 3 points from now on. So I'll share my main screen here now. And Mark, you let me know if it doesn't work, but everybody should see my PDF at the moment. So
yeah, I can see it.
Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's have a quick overview of the structure of the document. Well, obviously here, presentation page, front page, all documents that obviously you will have access within the Agora platform. I know it's too small. I'm trying to give you a high-level view here of what it looks like. So in a single page, you can have the main metrics you need to present your portfolio to a new client, to an existing client. That's the purpose of this. So we have a conservative ESG portfolio, conservative profile, so with 75% fixed income, moderate balanced 50-50. We have balanced 60% equity. We have growth at 80% equity, and we have the aggressive growth, which is the one that's the most aggressive. So let's take one that I would imagine a lot of your clients fall into, balanced. So let's take this one as an example, and I can show you a little bit of the components here. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the visual. We do like it, and it's been pretty effective on the field so far over the years. Top right here, you will notice we have 8 positions. Well, I would say 8, 7, 1 being the money market fund, but you see the other one. So we have different partners here. BMO is there with 2 positions. Lysander Canso, Greenwise, that's the RGP fund at 15%. NEI, DFA, and IA. So you know all these names, leaders in the industry. All of them are ESG specific fund, except Lysander Canso, the corporate value bond fund. Mark, if you can take a note for that. Later in the Q&A session, if we do have time, I can go on and break down every single one of these funds with 1 or 2 pointers, just to give a little bit of an understanding about what each fund brings to the table. But if you'll allow me, I'll keep going with the flow of the presentation. So that's fund components. Here, geographical exposures. So 15% Canadian equity, 30% US equity, 15 in international equity. We've been hammering this point on since the beginning of the presentation. Impact index, 88. Remember, the closer to 100, the highest the impact of the portfolio constituents have on environment, social component, and governance. That's what it is. So at 88, we're very high in the grid. To the left, we have portfolio standard deviation, 7.9, compared to the category, 7.4. Quick caveat here. Category, what does that mean? What is it, right? So category, everything relates to the categories here. Category are the Morningstar categories of each fund that you're seeing. So the BMO has its own Morningstar category, Lysander, same thing, etc., and etc. Well, our benchmark is simply a weighted average of these categories. So they're the closest match in terms of our portfolio and the market. That's how we compare both. Information ratio, we're trying to have a score around 1 and higher than 1 if we're able to do that. A score higher than 1 will show us that, yes, this lineup of managers did add value consistently over time on a risk-adjusted basis. That's what it does. Capture ratio, well, I think you're familiar with this one. So upside capture ratio right here, 114.1%, meaning when the market goes up, well, we capture 14% more these increase in the market. And when we look at the downside, well, we're even here with the market. Let's move on to the right here. You have the performance of this portfolio over the last years, all the way up until 2012, and annualized return, calendar year returns. So we're able to show some good data. If a fund, let's say a specific fund started, had his inception date in 2020. Before 2020, we replaced the track record of the fund by its category. Okay, it's a bit technical, but it's just a way for us to be able to still show some data, not being limited because one of the funds don't have the longer historical data. And at the bottom here, you have rolling periods. I think you're more familiar with this one as well. So all rolling periods of 5 years since 2012, the average return, right? You see it right here and with this color, the average return has been 7.6 annually. Okay, so this is balanced ESG profile, and like I said, we have all of these profiles that are there available on the platform. Let me now show you a little bit of broader picture. How does that look like? So you have 5 profiles. Each profile has between 8 and 7 funds. You see the lineup right here, right? Yes, it is 7 or 8 funds per profile, but in total, it's 10 funds that are being breakdown across the profiles. Obviously, more conservative one will have more fixed income, and vice versa, all the way up at the end here. So I can let you have a quick view here on the percentages, on the players. Obviously, you will get these. So I won't spend too much time here. We can go back to a specific fund by fund explanations later on. But our philosophy, whenever we build portfolios, is to focus on what is the team I'm getting in the end. So what's the global portfolio's characteristics in terms of performance, risk, and impact in this case. Obviously, we do make that work of due diligence fund per fund. That's our role. But yeah, that gives you a good image about the portfolios. I'm going to come back now to the slides. I would like to show something in terms of so if I do this right here, you should see now my PowerPoint, and I come back to the specific this one here. We have Alexandra talked about it earlier, CIFSC, so Canadian Investment Fund Standards Committee. They came out with their own framework for classifying ESG funds. If you go in there on their website, it's there, it's out there, it's public, and we wanted to show you here how the funds we chose score into each of those. So how does that look like? We have the 5 types of ESG integration that were used by the CIFSC here. So ESG exclusion, best in class, thematic, engagement and stewardship activities, and finally impact investing. So you see for each fund, how do they score in there and what type of ESG integration they do. So ESG exclusion, 7 of the funds here do it. 3 for best in class, 4 for thematic. Well, you get the principle here, but yeah, we wanted to have this additional layer in terms of credibility of the funds we selected. It's now time to take a look at the head-to-head. Another point, we did talk quite a few since the beginning of the presentation, so I'm going to come back again with my PDF right here, and I will be able to show you what kind of tool you can use to actually help you and go gain business. So right here, okay. ESG head-to-head analysis. So what we did here for this first one, we used the growth ESG portfolio that we built for you guys, and we compared it with this equivalent with Clarington Enhance, one of the leaders in the industry, and we're just going to show how the two compares to each other. Just to have a good understanding of the document here, this is what it looks like when we talk about head-to-head analysis. Front page. Second page here is exactly what we mentioned earlier. It's more the theoretical part of the optimization process. You can, hit the main points with your customers on the field. The page after that, very easy, is the portfolio that was built. So the Agora ESG portfolio being compared to the category. The next page, the enhanced growth portfolio itself compared to the category as well. And where it becomes much more concrete and much more interesting in terms of sales positioning on the field, it's onto the next page. So we have our head-to-head right here in white, and like in white here, recommended portfolio, the Agora one, and current portfolio, IA Enhance. How to read that is, okay, currently, Mr. Client, you do have 100K in your portfolio. Having been invested in the recommended portfolio here, you would be at 137K as of now. We go down a little bit. Oh, Mr. Advisor, I only had this specific portfolio for 3 years. Okay, thanks for the information. So here is what it looks like over the last 3 years. It's 3.4% added value annualized for the recommended portfolio. So basically what we'll do on and on is compare the recommended portfolio to the current portfolio. You can see that there's quite a significant added value here in terms of net returns. If we take a look at some other statistics that are on the document, portfolio standard deviation, so risk, volatility, we're higher at 9.4 versus 8.6, advantage to enhance share. Information ratio, net capture ratio are better. Green arrow, well, it says what it's meant to say, so it's better in that sense. And if we look at the rolling periods, 5 years, for instance, 8.7% annualized compared to 6.9%. So that's the first page. And the page that's more specific to ESG comes right after. So impact head-to-head. Same principle, different content. Right here at the top, what do we have? We have impact index comparison. 89 for the growth Agora ESG portfolio, 71 for Enhance. Still 71, very respectable as a score. We can do better at 89. Presence in positive sectors. So we came up with 5 main positive sectors for which we do have concrete and good data, right? So all the data that drives everything in there comes from Morningstar per se. So you see them here: climate action, diversity and inclusion, etc. And we have the leaves. So what it does: 5 leaves is the max, 0 is the minimum. The more you have, the better it is. So we can see here that both portfolios are doing pretty good in that area. Small advantage to the recommended portfolio with 31% higher in terms of presence here. And here we have presence in harmful sectors. Again, we identified 5 main harmful sectors that are sensitive, that are important. And same principle, same concept. Number of hands will show the exposure, 0 being none, 5 being more. So that's it for the ESG head-to-head. Now
on the hands, JP, if we could just maybe take a moment or two. Is that a linear thing? Like if you go from 1 to 2, is that a doubling, or is that how would we sort of gauge the scale?
Great question, Mark, and you're right. I think it's going to interest a lot of the advisors. I will refer to Alexandra, who is at the basic here of the formula of the calculation. So Alexandra, if you could please take the mic and explain a little bit of how this is calculated here and the sensitivity of the calculation.
Sure. So the answer is no, it's not linear. We followed Morningstar methodology, which is very strict. For one end, you have to obtain a result higher than 3%, but less than 5%. And to have 2 hands, you have to obtain a result less than 7%, but more than 5%. But if I may, what we need to know is that when we work with portfolio of funds, which is the case here, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to eliminate these sectors 100%. First, like I said, Morningstar and MSCI methodologies are very strict, and also because it's common to see, for example, a renewable energy company, in this case, with a minority stake in another company that distributes, for example, 5% of their revenues in natural gas, will bring 5% exposure to the fund. So it's really difficult to obtain a zero number. And I would also like to point out that compared with the old Agora ESG portfolio that were very good, but we were able to reduce the absolute exposure to those 5 negative sectors in general.
Great.
I don't know, Jean-Philippe, if you want to complete.
Yeah, it's perfect, Alexandra. So what do we need to remember here? It's very sensitive. Morningstar will score indirect exposure and very small exposure as you are exposed. So that's where it comes from. So the idea here is to reduce them as much as possible, but having none would be an impossible task, and you would not have an optimal portfolio. So
exactly.
Thanks for.
And with 2 hands, we have a percentage lower than 7%, which is still really low. So
excellent. Thank you for the answer, Alexandra, and great question, Mark. So what I will finish with here in terms of the head-to-head. So this was ESG versus ESG, but let's just put ourselves in a situation where you have a client that's interested to hear about ESG, but he currently holds a traditional portfolio. So that's what we did here. I will just give you a sneak peek at. So we basically created a portfolio with some of the funds that you would know in the industry here, traditional funds. That's the only thing you need to remember. And if we do look at that last page again, that's the image that you would get. So let's say you do have this client, he drives an electric car. He limits his trips, his movements, just to to make good for the planet. He tries to educate himself, his family, and then he sees that that's how his bigger power of influence as an investor is invested, right? So you are scoring points here. You are, bringing to the table an interesting discussion. Okay, guys. So these were the portfolios. These were the tools to present them, and this is the analysis tools. So it's now time to conclude. I will again come back to my deck here to the left. So let's conclude. What have we covered today? Who we are, how to build an effective ESG partnership with us, and we did present these Agora ESG model portfolios. So the next steps for you guys, well, what I would suggest is try and work that first ESG case. Okay, so very simple. You see the coordinates here. Well, you guys know Mark, region head, Ontario and Western Canada. So these requests go through Mark. You send to Mark a client summary statement. You can hide the personal information. You can send a screenshot of just the holdings as well. It's very easy. All we need to have is position, market value. Okay, and then our team will be able to provide you with this head-to-head analysis, and you can try it out on the field. But I can assure you that it will make a difference for you to have these discussions and to move assets within your business. So Mark, I'm not sure how we're doing on time. We are done here with our content, so I will hand the control now back to you.
Appreciate it. We've got a few minutes here, so maybe I could indulge myself with a couple of questions. That's okay. Don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe just if you could just reiterate or elaborate again on how long RGP has been building ESG portfolios and how it's changed over time? I know you talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but yeah, if you can maybe just recap.
So sure. So yeah, like I said, 2014. That's when we started building these portfolios. But with regard to your question, specific ESG portfolios, it's been more than 4 years now that we started building these ones one by one, and getting better at it as well. And to the second part of your question, how has it evolved over time? That's a good one, because if you look back, the offer in responsible investing 4 years ago versus today, we're not even close to be there. There was a huge boom. We don't have specific fund numbers here and stats, but the offer expanded quite significantly. So we're not able to do as much as a good work in ESG versus traditional. Okay, and the only thing that the client and the advisors as well need to understand here is, as good does not mean to be perfectly correlated at the same time. Do well at the same time, do bad at the same time. What we've seen is ESG portfolios in general tend to be slightly more volatile for a simple reason. Some sectors are excluded. If you think traditional energy, for instance, there's not a lot of traditional energy in ESG portfolios, which is normal. But excluding some sectors like that will tend to increase volatility. Okay, but in the end, if you look at long-term return, as good, and it could be even better, like we saw.
Well, thanks very much. Given you brought up the aspect of performance, I'm going to ask Alexandra. When we look at ESG performance over recent years, especially the last couple of years, performance has been a challenge. How do you sort of interpret that, and maybe what was driving it, and where do you see that in the future?
Good question, Mark. Yes, it's a fact that the situation has been more challenging for responsible investment in recent years, as other strategies too. But for RI portfolios, we explain this underperformance by the fact that they tend to be less exposed first to Magnificent Seven, and as GP said, absent from energy sector, which is a sector that has a very good performance during the past years. But for clients that are interested in ESG, are they truly want to be invest in energy sector? This is a first thing. And for the future, in my opinion, these does not call future performance into question at all, especially as climate change is here to stay, and companies are already starting to see the financial impact of ESG issues. Additionally, regulations and clients' expectation will continue to grow and propel responsible investment portfolios. So the future is glowing for me, and this is not an issue at all, the past year performance, because we understand why, and it's totally rational.
And Mark, if I can add a little thing here, what I would add is this underperformance actually sounds like opportunity, right? If you think about the market, what's finance 101? Buy low, sell high. That's what it is. So great moment to talk about this, to be invested in it, and we are very, very positive, optimistic with the next few years. You have AI, that's there as well. New buzzword, you've been hearing about AI every single training now for the last year or so. Today is not an exception to that, but AI has a huge demands in terms of energy. So the where does this energy come from is going to be a huge key going forward in how we manage the expansion.
This is true, and the flows are very high for every ESG funds in general. So this is another factor to complete.
Well, thanks very much. Yeah, I'd heard in the US some of the flows had been a challenge, but I know that Canada
It
doesn't
is true.
follow the same pattern. So I know that some advisors are thinking there's no money going into ESG, and that may be true in the States, but not in Canada. So with that, I'd like to thank Jean-Philippe and Alexandra for taking the time to provide us with their insights into both their investment and portfolio optimization processes. Now, just a reminder that just like all of our other managed solutions, each of these is bought with a single purchase option versus buying fund by fund. So, so obviously simplifying the onboarding process of the portfolio. We're also going to be providing a simplified KYP solution, just like we do for the rest of the managed solutions as well. So those are a couple of things to note. Just a reminder, as JP outlined, if you've got a comparison from a current client that you'd like done versus the ESG offering, please email me the client's current holdings, and I'll work with RGP to provide you with a comparison. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join today's call, and I wish everybody a great day. Thank you very much.